What's up everyone and welcome back to the MMA Zone. Today, let's get started with Israel Adesanya will never be a top fighter again? Following Israel Adesanya's devastating loss at UFC Saudi Arabia, there's been plenty of talk regarding the last stylebender's future and whether his time as an elite middleweight has come to an end. And before we continue, make sure to leave a like on the video to help support the channel. Well, one person who believes the Adesanya era has come to a close is Michael Bisping. Heading into Saturday's event, the consensus seemed to be that while Nassourdine Imavov would be a test for Adesanya, Izzy would likely emerge victorious and resume his pursuit of a title shot. But Imavov proceeded to drop jaws throughout the MMA world by taking Adesanya out in the second round. So the question now is, what's next for Adesanya? He's lost 3 straight fights now and is closer to 40 than 30. During the post-fight broadcast, here was some of what Bisping had to say about the last stylebender. The biggest takeaway is that it's over. Israel Adesanya's reign as champion I don't think will come again. I say that with the greatest of respect and I truly mean that. An original, an incredible fighter, a legend of the sport, a future Hall of Famer, but his time at the top is done. As noted, Bisping isn't the only person who has voiced his opinion since Imavov's win. Of course, it's possible that Adesanya could string together multiple victories and challenge for the belt one more time. But given his age and how many there are at 185, you can understand why some have closed the book on his days as a champ. Of course, not all the rhetoric surrounding Adesanya makes sense either. He did look good early on in the bout with Imavov, and it's not like he's been losing to cans. He was coming off losses to top-tier middleweights like Dricus du Plessis and Sean Strickland. So when people started talking about Adesanya's downfall online, Darren Till was quick to fire back. Here's some of what the former middleweight contender had to say via social media. But now, I swear I cannot even fathom that I have just seen a comment saying Israel Adesanya's downfall needs to be studied. Me and Izzy are not friends. I wouldn't even say I'm his biggest fan outside of the octagon, but that's got all to do with what that man has achieved in this sport. He was a wrecking machine at middleweight. No one could beat him. Literally at one stage he looked unbeatable in his title reign. People only cried for the fight between me and him because of styles, but facts are facts. He was ruining everyone. He made Paulo Costa look like a baby, who by the way had a war with Yoel Romero. He absolutely bodied Robert Whittaker. Izzy was an absolute wrecking machine in his day. He's without a doubt one of the middleweight GOATs, and it's not even up for debate. In fact, he can lose his next 5 fights, and it wouldn't change a thing on his GOAT status. It wasn't long ago when Adesanya was undefeated in MMA and was widely considered to be one of the best pound-for-pound fighters in the world. But what do you think? Could we see Adesanya make another title run? Or do you think Izzy should walk away from the sport? Joe Rogan leaks text messages about Merab versus Umar. Merab emerged from UFC 311 still holding the bantamweight belt, and the champion has received heaps of praise for the heart and toughness he showed that night. But the debate still continues as to whether the fight could have been awarded to Umar Nurmagomedov. Heading into UFC 311, many believed that Nurmagomedov was going to make Merab's reign as champion a short one. Early on in the fight, it looked like that prediction may come true, but Dvalishvili kept coming, and after 5 rounds of action, he was awarded the victory with scores of 48-47, 49-46, and 48-47. Following the bout, Nurmagomedov relayed he believed the judges got it wrong and he should have been awarded the belt. Well, during a recent episode of Joe Rogan's podcast, he revealed that he, Daniel Cormier, and Jon Anik are still debating who won the fight via texts.
It's been a while since there was like a really questionable one.
You know, it's an interesting one. Not a questionable one, but an interesting one is Merab versus Umar. So Merab Dvalishvili and Umar Nurmagomedov, they go to the distance, 5-round fight. Merab winds up winning a decision. Yeah. Amazing fight. Amazing fight. Probably the best 135-pound title fight in the history of the sport. It was incredible. It was so well matched. They went back and forth. Umar apparently broke his hand in the first round, was still throwing it for the whole fight. He wound up taking Merab down, and nobody expected that. He got Merab's back.
Yeah,
he won the first 2 rounds, and the question is the 3rd round. And so I watched it a couple of times, and me and Jon Anik and Daniel Cormier have been going back and forth with text about this. I was like, man, that 3rd round is so close. It's so close. I could see judges giving it to Umar. He landed more strikes on the feet. He did get 1 takedown. Merab got a couple takedowns, but he didn't do much with the takedown. But Daniel had a really good point that at the end of it, Merab's was accelerating, and it looked like Umar was starting to get tired. But at the end of the 3rd round, Umar has Merab's back. He's behind him, and he's controlling him against the cage. And he had wound up taking Merab down at one point in time. So it's like he landed a lot of strikes on the feet. Probably did more actual damage. But Merab did take him down more, and Merab was pushing the pace, and Merab did also land shots. Like, it was close. It's the third round that's the real close one, because I gave the first 2 rounds to Umar, and then you get into the third, you're like, ooh, that's the one. That one's close. Because the fourth and the fifth were clearly Merab was coming on strong. But I would be very happy to see that fight again. Very happy.
It was a close fight, that much is for certain, but who do you believe won this epic battle? And would you like to see them run it back? Joaquin Buckley goes off on Daniel Cormier, calling him out for not talking about the recent Conor McGregor comments made about Khabib. He went on X and said this: "Surprised DC didn't mention nothing about Conor calling his brother Khabib an or I feel like we too comfortable with anybody saying N-word nowadays, especially in the UFC. So with that being said, starting with this trend, back again, say N-word around me. Lay hands on you." Belal Muhammad goes off on Sean Strickland. Belal Muhammad and Sean Strickland have been going to war via social media posts and comments and interviews. It doesn't look like it's going to end anytime soon either. If you follow them, you know that the two have traded verbal shots many times. Muhammad has repeatedly claimed that Strickland's bark is considerably bigger than his bite. Following Nassourdine Imavov's emphatic stoppage of Israel Adesanya at UFC Saudi Arabia, the welterweight champ took a poke at Strickland's fighting style again. Here's what Muhammad posted via X. "Crazy that Chimaev finished Whitaker and Imavov finished Izzy, but the guy that teeped Costa 150 times is getting the title shot. But we all know he's good at crying and using his mouth, no diddy. I just heard it from his dad." While there's no doubt Strickland's one of the toughest outs in the middleweight division and that he holds victories over several notable fighters, including Adesanya, it's also true that the outspoken fighter has recorded just 2 finishes in the 12 fights he's had since 2020. But what's your take on Muhammad's criticism of Strickland? Do you believe he deserves to fight for the belt again, or should the UFC have gone with Chimaev instead? All that aside, as Muhammad alluded to, Strickland is preparing to battle the man who ended his reign as champion, Dricus du Plessis, for his second time at UFC 312. Strickland has argued recently that he's a far superior striker than DDP, but it's also clear he respects the champion's toughness. This is what he recently told ESPN. "What I tell people at the highest levels of competition, mother don't break like I don't break, he doesn't break. Do you think at some point a round's gonna come and he's going to get off the stool and be like, I don't want to be here? You can blind him in the eye, break his nose, and he's gonna get up, me included, and we're gonna fight. At our level, we don't break and we will for what we want." We can't wait to see how the rematch unfolds. Who do you think will win next Saturday's bout? Do you think DDP will defeat Strickland for a second time, or will Strickland reclaim the middleweight crown? Dricus du Plessis sends a warning to Sean Strickland ahead of their fight at UFC 312. Here's what Dricus had to say.
"When I go in there, if there's no ref, if the ref doesn't stop it, I'm not stopping. I can be sitting on you for 10 minutes bashing your face. If the ref doesn't say stop, I'm not stopping." And that is the question that me as a modern day gladiator has to ask myself. Am I still willing to Absolutely, that's easy. It's, are you willing to man in front of his family? Yes, I am. And that's why I'm the world champion, because I say yes to that answer, that question every single time.
Sean Strickland posted new training footage ahead of UFC 312. UFC updates. Let's take a look at some news regarding new UFC matchups, dates, and potential scraps. Marcel Dorf is reporting that a bout between Giga Chikadze and David Onama has been moved from the UFC's April 5th Vegas card to the promotion's April 26th event in Kansas City, Missouri. Giga Chikadze is looking to get back on track as he dropped a decision loss to Arnold Allen in his last fight, which went down in July. The Georgian fighter has gone 3-2 in his last 5 bouts. Onama recorded a decision victory over Roberto Romero in November, which extended the Uganda fighter's winning streak to 3. The UFC has started to book fights for its May schedule, as Fight Bananas and David Van Elken reported that Marina Rodriguez will fight Jillian Robertson May 3rd. Robertson is coming off a decision win over Luana Pinheiro in November, which moved the Canadian's winning streak to 4. Rodriguez, on the other hand, dropped a split decision loss to Yasmin Lucindo in November. The Brazilian could be in a must-win situation, as Rodriguez has lost 4 of her last 5 fights. Ikram Aliskerov and Andre Muniz did not battle at UFC Saudi Arabia this weekend, due to passport issues the latter ran into. Now, it looks like the two will fight on April 26th, but it also appears that the UFC tried to book the fight earlier. In an interview with Telecom Asia Sport, Aliskerov reported that due to Ramadan, he could not accept any early March date for the bout. Aliskerov has yet to compete since Robert Whittaker ran through him last June. It's been even longer since Muniz fought, as the Jiu-Jitsu machine has not fought since he recorded a split decision win over Park Young-Young in December of 2023. Recently, MMA content creator Real Kevin K reported that Matthew Semmelsberger has been removed from the UFC roster. Semmelsberger announced the news via social media. The news is not that surprising, as he lost 4 straight fights, the last of which came against Charles Radke in November. And following Terrence McKinney's quick stoppage of Damir Hadzovic at UFC Saudi Arabia, he called for a scrap with Chris Duncan via social media. Duncan has made it clear he's more than willing to throw down with McKinney after he takes care of some business at UFC London. Duncan's opponent for the March 22nd card has yet to be announced. The Scottish fighter posted this video clip in response to McKinney's call-out.
So this is my reply to Terrence McKinney. I've already got a fight scheduled for UFC London, but if you still want that fight, I just opened my limited company this week. I'm looking for some easy cash flow, so if you're still keen, I'll see you in Miami, Don't want the problem.
It'll be interesting to see if the UFC goes in this direction if Duncan wins in March. If a Duncan-McKinney fight happens, who do you think will take it? Nassourdine Imavov makes his case for UFC title shot next. Not everyone seems convinced that Nassourdine Imavov has done enough to jump past Khamzat Chimaev in the title shot queue at 185. But the rising Dagestani star is driving hard for a shot at the belt after putting away Israel Adesanya. Imavov buzzed the MMA world on Saturday by taking Adesanya out in the second round. While most people understood Imavov was in the mix at middleweight thanks to his well-rounded game, the last stylebender was a fair-sized favorite on the betting lines to win. Now that Imavov has extended his winning streak to 4 with the win over the former champ, he's making it clear he wants a title shot. Here's some of what the 29-year-old had to say following his massive victory. I cleaned out the weight class in 1 year. 4 fights, 2 wins against top 10 competition, 2 finishes against top 5 competition. Next is the belt. Now, some might take issue with the notion that Imavov cleaned out the middleweight division. While it's true he's defeated notable contenders like Jared Cannonier, Brendan Allen, Roman Dolidze, and now Adesanya, the latter is the only person currently ranked in the top 5. But what do you think? Could you see the UFC tapping Imavov to face the winner of Dricus du Plessis versus Sean Strickland 2? Or do you believe that Boers will battle for the belt next? Sean Strickland's coach responds to backlash about Alex Pereira. Recently, we learned that Sean Strickland's former foe turned buddy, Alex Pereira, will be in his corner when he battles Dricus du Plessis at UFC 312. While some fans are questioning that decision or even criticizing it, it seems clear that Strickland's sticking to his. Recently, MMA Fighting spoke with Strickland's coach, Eric Nixick. While discussing the scrutiny Strickland's decision has received, the renowned coach said this. He was going to be out there. It was just one of those things where we're looking at the corner, and I know he's going to be out there, and Johnny Eblen couldn't make it out. I was hoping to have him in the corner. Myself and Danny Davis will be there, and it was just a matter of convenience. And these are 2 guys that really trust one another. Sean went out there to help him get ready for Khalil Roundtree, and this is what people don't really understand. I see some people thinking it's like a publicity thing. It's more about the comfortability in your corner, and not only that, what Alex is going to bring to the locker room. Sean warms up very, very hard. Sean basically fights in the back to get his eyes and his rhythm and his timing on point. Who better to be back there to help you warm up than Alex freaking Pereira, right? Like, that guy is going to help. And when Strickland recently spoke with MMA Junkie, he had this to say while discussing Pereira's reaction to his request. He said he's down. He's a good dude, man. He's such a good dude. He has a tough fight coming up against Magomed Ankalaev, and if he needs me for that, I'll be out to help with him, so it kind of goes mutual. What do you think of Strickland asking Poatan to be in his corner? And do you think that Pereira's presence will help Strickland reclaim the middleweight crown? The MMA community is shocked by Dricus du Plessis' body transformation after he shared a picture of himself posing with his teammates at the gym. He captioned it saying, "Ready to or be fight week is finally here." Here's what the MMA world had to say about his body transformation. Natty or juicing? Dricus looks huge. Who the told Islam he has a chance against Dricus? Dude is huge. He'll manhandle him. Try welterweight first, Islam. Islam thinks he could take this guy out. Imagine. Arms too heavy. I think you might get TKO'd. Gee, nothing like PEDs, lol. Jack, let's go champ. Bro looks big as. Dricus looks huge. One fan called out his teammate in the picture for using PEDs. Damn, Hugo, what did you eat in South Africa? I have a feeling that this time, the ill-mannered jab merchant will get a PK so bad that it has the Chechenian hoping that the common cold will finally finish him off before he ever has to step in the octagon with our boy. Dricus by PKO. Let's go.